Welcome. This is Stephen Lee, and this is Life and the Living of It. In a previous episode, I talked about mysticism, specifically Christian mysticism. Christian mysticism is being in love with the physical manifestations of the presence of God. Now, mysticism has within it embodied experiences, or what I like to call embodied love. No, embodied love is not a song from the 80s. It is experiencing love in and with and through and alongside the body. The thing about defining embodied love is that it's almost impossible to define it without experiencing it. How do we do that? One of the most simple ways to experience embodied love is meditation, because meditation focuses back on the body and what is happening with the body. I am sure you've heard people say, breathe in, breathe out, focus on your breath, and then usually some kind of systematic relaxation technique or visualization technique. And those are all meditations. For me, I want to experience bodily love. One of my meditations is called the Love Meditation, or what I like to call the Love Safari. In the Love Safari, it is about getting into a comfortable position, and it is about breathing deeply and slowly, but it's a lot about visualization. When I do a Love Safari, I answer the questions, when did I feel the most loved? What did it feel like physically? What were my emotions doing? Where was my mindset and heart space when it was happening? And the more that I could describe it and visualize it and feel it once again with my body, the more the body remembered when I was loved. The heart remembered. The spirit started singing again. Because while my body remembered love, it re-experienced love. One of the times I felt really loved, I had been frightened to my very core. And I was curling up in myself, even rocking back and forth, trying to self-soothe. And I had called my girlfriend at the time that I needed her. When she showed up, she took me in her arms, and I was still shaking. And she said over and over, "I've got you. I've got you." And my body, which had been curled in on itself, now curled around her, my head resting in the nook of her shoulder. And I remember the smell of her perfume, the softness of the sweater that she was wearing. I could feel her heartbeat as I could feel my own. I could feel her breath on the top of my head. I could feel that she softly rocked me back and forth, that no matter how terrified and afraid I was, there were arms wrapped around me. I could feel my body slowly unclench, my breathing become deep and regular, the knots in my stomach slowly unwind. For what she was doing with her body was saying, "I've got you. I've got you." And I remember falling asleep. And I woke up almost an hour later, and I was still in her arms. And the terror that had gripped me was no longer there. That's one of the memories I go back to when I take a love safari. The embodied love that someone else had me, and that I was not alone. Now, what happens when you visualize a time that you were loved and you fill in all the little details? Whatever connection you had back then, you experience once again in your body. And once you feel something again with your body, that love becomes your reality, as it became mine. The secret is that the body remembers paradise, and it remembers it long before the mind can be talked back to it. My mind could say, "You will stop being afraid," and nothing happens. Or the body can say, "I am loved," and it becomes your reality. You know, I get goosebumps and that frisson down the spine just talking about that again. And I feel that again. And I feel that deep thrumming in my soul. It's the love safari. There are other examples of embodied love experiences. I went to a jazz club in San Antonio some time ago, and the jazz piano player, as he played, evoked a lot of embodied love. The way he played those keys and the improvisation, the drop notes, the minor chords, the emotional run. My heart followed all of those movements up and down and side to side. He would make the keys weep and I felt like crying. He would make the keys sing and I was totally entranced. Embodied love is a lot like life. The jazz music transported me to a rich and powerful, dynamic and moving miraculous expression of life. That's embodied love. Embodied love is also hearing the story from a survivor, someone who has been victorious over immense suffering, a hero, a role model, a person just like us who has thrived no matter what life has thrown against them. And we feel that inspiration, we feel that energy, we feel that life surging into us, that hope, those possibilities, that strength. That's embodied love. And in art, I have seen beauty that resonates and rings, that is at once so sublime that tears fall, and contains such truth that a part of me aches in response. That's embodied love. Embodied love is taking the hand of my nephew when he was just a few days old, and these unfocused eyes suddenly focusing on me, and the small tiny fingers wrapping around my thumb, and feeling deep down a soul connection, a heart thrum, a strand of life between he and I, to be the recipient of such a look of love and need, and in those moments of embodied love to be, at least for the moment, forever changed. Embodied love is looking across a waiting room and seeing a couple, the man sunken and pallid and in a wheelchair, the woman holding his hand, and then watching this woman get out a tiny ukulele and begin to strum softly and singing to her partner, and literally watching the life come back into his body, his head slowly raising up from a sunken chest, his breathing deepening, the dull glossiness of his eyes slowly clearing, the almost painful movement as he turns to watch her, and she singing softly a song that I was too far away to hear, but that illustrated more assuredly the ties of love and history between these two, that for that moment in sickness and in health only meant in love. This is embodied love. It is a son and his older father in church, where the father could barely stand, and the son taking each step with him, as the son carefully moves his father and with his father, to stand in the circle and have communion together, and guide him lovingly and carefully back to the pew, and that same son laying his hand on his father's shoulder, as his father bows his head in prayer. This is a dear friend of mine giving me a long hug at the beginning of a very tough day, and melting into her arms, closing my eyes and feeling once again the very truth that she has me, that she's there for me, and that I am not alone, and that from body to body and heart to heart, we are not alone. And this is life and the living of it.